Hey everyone, and welcome back to another World of Warcraft Legion beta video. So, Blizzard has managed to pull off something rather impressive when it comes to its endgame narrative content. Rather than have 5 level up zones, they've chosen to relegate Suramar to max level. Accessible upon hitting level 100, Suramar follows the story of the Nightfallen, a separatist group of elves who oppose their leader's decision to ally with the Burning Legion. As is the case with Blizzard's lore, elves and magic are often a dangerous combination, and much like with the Blood Elves and the Sunwell, the Nightfallen are dependent on the energy of the Nightwell. Without it, they basically lose their minds and turn into feral crack addicts. So, this would be run-of-the-mill if Blizzard had have just followed their usual zone design where you enter at one end, clear some quests in a mostly linear path, and then eventually finish at some sort of, climax point of the story. Well, with Suramar, Blizzard have managed to do something far more interesting. First, the quest design is by far the best in Legion. They have a great variety of quests, including some engaging puzzles, some regular kill quests, and some more narrative-focused stuff. Overall, it works, and the general level of quality on display is absolutely a cut above the rest in terms of just their implementation of the mechanics, and also the inventiveness and creativity that's actually, clearly went on behind them. They also managed to do a brilliant job of the narrative. You're often picking up audio logs, having characters talk to you, through like a magic radio. There's even a masquerade ball that you end up going to. The writing and the voice acting is oddly good by Blizzard standards, and they definitely do a great job of keeping you interested, even through the more generic quests that are on offer in the zone. The overall quest flow reflects the narrative that they're trying to tell as well. The Nightfallen are a scattered and weak faction when you first find them. While there is a linear quest flow for the most part through the content, there's a lot of content that you just stumble upon while wandering around the city and wandering around the zone. Clearing your way through the map actually feels really satisfying because of this. You just stumble into cool content, and you'll be able to unlock various different utilities such as teleporters as you adventure as well, which again makes exploring the zone feel pretty damn good from a gameplay perspective. Now, I mentioned that the NPCs are all addicted to magical power. Well, they're all going through severe withdrawal now that they're cut off from the Nightwell. What does this mean? Well, you're pretty much their crack dealer. This is kind of funny because it's a good example of a retention mechanic being baked into the quest design. So there's nodes in the map, there's enemies and there's treasures, and these things all drop a resource called Ancient Mana. This Ancient Mana is the primary currency that you use when interacting with the Nightfallen NPCs. So basically they have a hunger bar, it needs to be satisfied if you want to interact with them, and that includes doing quest content. The Ancient Mana also has other uses, such as activating teleporters. Now, I understand how you might take issue with this, but I actually think it works out quite well. First, it's absolutely not a big problem when you're just doing your regular questing. Not once have I ran into issues where I would have to go out and farm stuff to do quests. That never happened. There are some extra things which might take a little bit more effort, such as teleporters and some goodies, but I think it's a overall good reward loop that makes the unlocking and playing of Suramar content actually feel rewarding purely for the sake of the content itself. And yeah, it's an example of if the content is good quality, then doing the work to unlock it will make a rewarding and engaging experience. And yeah, make no mistake, this would not at all work if the content behind it wasn't good enough. This, in my view, really is a cut above Blizzard's norm, which actually does excite me greatly for the future content of World of Warcraft, because I've got to assume that Suramar is the most recent bit of quest content that they developed, but I guess that is kind of just speculation. They've also listened to players and implemented a feature similar to the treasure trove scenario from the Isle of Thunder. You can do it once a day, and it works as a sink of that Ancient Mana resource. So you spend a bunch of Ancient Mana before you enter, and the more that you spend, the more power you have to play with as you go through the scenario, and the scenario itself is just another excellent bit of content design from Blizzard, which really is a breath of fresh air after the sour taste of the frankly lazy Warlords of Draenor, sort of non-raid, non-dungeon content. Suramar City is also the main raid of the expansion's first raid tier. Now, the story of Suramar builds up to the events of the raid, and the actual zone questing also leads you into 2 mythic-only dungeons, and they're only accessible by players who progress through Suramar. Yep, it's basically an attunement, but I think that attunements, if done well, are just the player unlocking content in a way that makes narrative sense. This has the effect of making the content itself a reward, and I think it creates a progression that players can move through in a pretty satisfying way. And that's really all the stuff that I want to mention here, so I'm pretty much just going to cut the video. I don't want to get into spoiler territory, and I think that experiencing the content mostly blind is the best way to do it. The main point of the video is just to communicate how much I personally enjoyed Suramar, and it has been one of the highlights of my beta testing. So hats off to whatever sub-team in Blizzard are actually responsible for this zone. Thank you very much for watching the video, and I will see you next time.